The Solar System is the planetary system that consists of the Sun and all the bodies that revolve around it, including the Earth and other planets. The Solar System includes other smaller objects, dwarf planets, asteroids, meteorites, and comets, in addition to a thin cloud of gas and dust known as the interplanetary medium. They also revolve around the Sun, but indirectly, the satellites of the planets, which are called natural satellites, or for short, the more than 150 known moons in the Solar System. Most of them revolve around gas giants. 2 of these moons are larger than the planet Mercury. It remains the largest body in the Solar System, and the most important of these bodies, of course, is the Sun, the star that is located in the center of the system and is linked to its gravity. Its mass is 99.9% of the mass of the entire system, and Jupiter takes the lion's share of what the Sun did not take. It is the Sun that radiates the light and heat that make life on Earth possible, and yet it is only a medium-sized star. After the Sun comes the planets, as there are 8 planets in the Solar System, arranged in order of distance from the Sun: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, rocky planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, the gas giants. The 2 larger planets, Jupiter and Saturn, consist mainly of hydrogen and helium, while the other 2 planets, Uranus and Neptune, are farther from the Sun. They are made of materials with relatively higher melting points than hydrogen and helium. Water, ammonia, and methane are examples. All 8 planets of the Solar System rotate in a semicircular path around the Sun, in a plane located in an almost flat disk called the path of the Solar System. There are many Solar System bodies that can be seen with the naked eye other than the Sun and the Moon, and among these planets are Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and sometimes the brightest asteroids and transiting comets as well, in addition to meteors, where meteors can be seen when the meteors enter the Earth's atmosphere. Of course, much more than that can be seen from the Solar System's objects using the telescope. Most astronomers currently believe that the Solar System was born 4.6 billion years ago from a huge cloud of gas and dust known as the solar nebula. According to this theory, this nebula began to collapse on itself as a result of its gravity, which its internal pressure could not resist. Most of the solar nebula's material was attracted to its center, where the Sun formed. It is believed that small particles of what remained of matter accumulated with a few after that, forming larger and larger bodies, until they turned into planets.
The Sun is the main element in the Solar System, and it is a star belonging to the stellar classification G2, and the mass of the Sun constitutes 99.86% of the mass of the entire Solar System and controls the movement of the group by its gravity. The masses of the 4 gaseous planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, make up about 99% of the remaining mass of the Solar System. Jupiter and Saturn make up more than 90% of the mass of the 4 gas giants. Most of the large bodies that revolve around the Sun are in the plane of the Earth, which is called the ecliptic. Planets are very close to the path of the Sun, while comets and Kuiper belt objects are often located at much greater angles from the path of the Sunday to the Sun, but there are some exceptions, such as Halley's Comet. Also, all the planets, except Venus and Uranus, spin around themselves in a counterclockwise direction if viewed from the North Pole. Venus and Uranus spin clockwise. There are also dwarf planets that have a completely different spin, such as Pluto. The general shape of the Solar System appears as follows: in the center is the Sun, around which 4 relatively small inner planets revolve. These planets are surrounded by a belt of asteroids, inspiring the four gas giants surrounded in turn by the Kuiper belt composed of icy bodies. Astronomers sometimes divide the solar system according to its structure into two main parts: the inner solar system, which consists of the four rocky planets and the asteroid belt, and the outer solar system, which consists of the bodies that lie behind the asteroid belt, including the four gas giants. Since the discovery of the Kuiper belt, the outermost part of the solar system is considered a unique region, and the bodies located there are called post-Neptune bodies. Kepler's laws of planetary motion describe the rotation of bodies around the Sun. According to Kepler's laws, all solar system bodies revolve around the Sun in elliptical orbits, with the Sun occupying one of its foci. The planets closer to the Sun rotate at a faster speed due to the influence of the Sun's gravitational pull. The distance of objects moving on an elliptical path from the Sun varies throughout the year. The point at which the body is closest to the Sun is called perihelion, while the point at which the body is farthest from the Sun is called aphelion. The orbits of the planets are close to circular, while the orbits of comets and Kepler belt objects are in the form of a sharp ellipse. The difference between the major and minor axes is very large. Because of the vastness of the group, the orbits of many bodies from the Sun are proportional to the distance of the orbits of these bodies from the next body, with some exceptions. Thus, the object with the furthest distance from the Sun in the Kuiper belt represents the farthest distance between it and the object that precedes it in the solar system. For example, Venus is 0.33 astronomical units from Mercury, while Saturn is 4.3 astronomical units from Jupiter, and Neptune is 10.5 astronomical units from Uranus. Attempts have been made to find a mathematical relationship between these distances to try to explain this phenomenon, such as the Titus-Bode law, but no theory has been produced to explain this. Most of the planets in the solar system have their own secondary system, so that other bodies called natural satellites or satellites revolve around it. There are two moons larger than Mercury, the smallest planets of the solar system. Gaseous planets are also surrounded by planetary rings, which are bundles of small particles that orbit the planet. Most massive moons orbit their planet in synchronous motion so that one side of the moon is always facing the planet. The bodies of the inner system are mainly composed of rocks, and the totality of these compounds is composed of elements with a high melting point such as silica, iron or nickel, so that it remains solid in all conditions of the primary planetary nebula. Saturn and Jupiter are composed mainly of gases, which have a very low melting point and vapor pressure as high as molecular hydrogen, helium, and neon. It always remains in the gaseous state during nebula formation. Ice, like water ice, methane, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and carbon dioxide, has a boiling point of less than 100 K. The phase in which it is present depends on the pressure and temperature of the surrounding medium. These compounds can exist in solid, liquid, or icy phases in many regions of the solar system, while they were in the gaseous or solid state during the nebular phase. Icy compounds